The first snow had just begun to fall on the rugged hills of Montana when Silas Boone, the reclusive mountain man with a grizzly beard and a heart buried in silence, stepped into town. He rarely did. The town of Coldridge was miles below his secluded cabin, and even rarer was the reason for his visit, a rumor. They said a traveling orphan wagon had broken down near the general store, carrying 3 children no one wanted. 3 little souls left behind like discarded winter coats. Silas hadn't planned to go. Why would he? He'd long accepted that he'd never be a father, not after all those years and tears with a wife who later died of a broken heart, unable to bear children. But something stirred inside him. A quiet whisper. Go see. Wrapped in his thick wool coat, he entered the town square, where a crowd had gathered. People peered into the battered wagon with detached curiosity, but no one stepped forward. The wagon was old, weather-beaten, the canvas torn. A sign hung from the side, scribbled hastily, 3 orphans, $3 total, we can't keep them. Silas approached, his boots crunching on snow-dusted gravel. Inside the wagon sat 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. The youngest, no older than 5, clutched a torn rag doll. The middle one, a boy with scraped knuckles and fierce eyes, stared challengingly at every adult that passed. And the eldest, a girl, maybe 10, sat upright, protective, her gaze weary beyond her years. All 3 were smudged with dirt, wrapped in thin clothes that did little against the cold. $3. Silas muttered, confused and disgusted at the thought of children being sold like livestock. They're a burden, sir, the wagon driver, a tired man who looked equally homeless, explained. No papers, no relatives. Just mouths to feed and nobody wants them. Silas looked again at the kids. The little one was shivering now. The wind howled like a wolf through the trees. Something in Silas's chest cracked open. Without a word, he pulled 3 wrinkled dollars from his coat pocket, his emergency fund, and handed them over. I'll take M. The crowd fell silent. The orphan boy with scraped knuckles squinted at Silas. Why? Silas didn't answer. He just extended his hand. The trek back to the mountains was hard, especially for the kids who had never seen such steep climbs. But Silas didn't complain. He carried the youngest on his back, shared his last jerky, wrapped them in thick bear pelts when the night turned bitter. His cabin, old but sturdy, became their shelter. He gave them warm food, venison stew and cornbread, taught them how to build fires, how to chop wood. He even carved them toys from pine. He didn't expect gratitude. And he didn't offer words of affection. Silas Boone was a man of action, not speech. Days turned into weeks. The snow deepened. The children, once wary and feral, began to thaw like the edge of a frozen stream in spring. The youngest, Lily, clung to Silas like a kitten. The middle one, Jack, tested boundaries, but always came back with silent respect. The eldest, Emily, watched him closely, curiously. One night, after a snowfall so thick it buried the windows, Emily sat beside the hearth and asked quietly, "Why'd you take us in, Mr. Boone?" He poked at the fire. "Didn't sit right, you kids bein' left like that. Figured I had room." "You don't have to keep us," she said, her voice too calm for a child. "I ain't lettin' you go." As winter melted into spring, the children grew stronger. Lily laughed louder. Jack learned how to fish. Emily read through every book Silas owned, sitting by the window for hours. The cabin once filled only with the sound of wind and wolves, now rang with childish voices, laughter, and late-night questions about stars. But Silas still felt a distance he couldn't cross. He cared. Deeply. But he feared the inevitable. What if they left? What if they didn't want him? One late summer evening, as fireflies blinked in the meadow and the crickets sang lullabies, Silas overheard Emily and Jack whispering by the barn. "He's different from the others," Jack said. You think he'll keep us? I don't know, Emily answered. But I think he's hurting too. Silas stood frozen in the shadows, their words cutting deeper than any winter wind. That night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling beams. Could he be their father, even if he wasn't blood? Was it too late for him? Weeks later, a government official arrived on horseback, following up on the orphan wagon incident. You've taken in 3 undocumented children, Mr. Boone. Do you have legal custody? Silas stood at the door, heart pounding. Ain't nobody else steppin' up. The man sighed. We'll have to do a home check. Possibly relocate the children. Emily stepped forward from behind Silas, gripping his shirt tightly. No. We're not going anywhere. Lily started crying. Jack clenched his fists. But before anyone could argue, the official noticed something. Emily's pendant, a faded silver locket with a scratched engraving. Where'd you get this? Emily blinked. It was my mom's. She gave it to me before we were left at the church. The man's face paled. This belonged to a woman named Clara Hollingsworth. She disappeared over 7 years ago. She was my sister. Silas and the children stared in stunned silence. You're saying these kids are your niece and nephews? Only Emily, he said, pointing to the girl. The others, I don't know. But we've been searching for her for years. She's family. Emily looked up at Silas, trembling. I don't want to go. And then it happened. The moment that shattered everything. Papa, she whispered. Silas froze. The world stopped. The wind, the birds, the creaking floor, everything went silent. She'd never called him that before. Not once. He looked at her, eyes welling. Say it again. Papa, she repeated, this time louder. Jack and Lily joined her. Papa. The official, blinking back emotion himself, nodded slowly. I'll make the papers work, he said softly. If you're willing to be their legal guardian, all of them. Silas couldn't speak. He just opened his arms, and they ran to him, all 3. The mountain man who once lived in silence was now father to 3 hearts that healed his own. Years passed. The cabin grew, walls expanded, a second room added, even a porch swing. Emily grew into a teacher. Jack became a park ranger. Little Lily wrote books about mountain life and the day a man with a beard and $3 bought her freedom. And Silas? He never stopped being amazed. From a man who thought he'd die alone in the woods, he became a legend, Papa Boone, the man who saved 3 kids, and in return, was saved by love. Sometimes the world doesn't give you what you ask for. It gives you what you need, wrapped in unexpected packages. Sometimes, the biggest families begin not with blood, but with a whisper, a dollar, and a miracle.